everything about this feels different for the Boston Bruins, as after today's game, this team looks completely different than what we had seen last year. Going over a few things from the locker room, from the game itself, and the way we saw this team on the ice, we are in for something special for the remainder of the season. I'm going to be breaking it all down here in this video, going over some quotes as well as some news that we have on a few injured players here. Before we do jump into it though, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one favor, and that's if you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button, join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Boston Bruins every day. You won't want to miss it, and especially the way this team has started off thus far, things are looking very, very good. So like I said, I'm going to have it all right here for you guys throughout this season, but let's get straight into this. I want to first touch on today's game a little bit because, as I mentioned, something just felt different about this. We saw this team win the first three, looked very, very good, and ultimately in this game when they faced their first big challenge in a team being the Tampa Bay Lightning, we expected a very interesting game with this, and that is what we got. And I want to first pull up right now the hockey stat card, go over this, and ultimately was not the greatest game from a lot of players here. I feel like the line of Mason Lohrei, Charlie McAvoy, they really struggled here in this game. The third line of Mikey Ace, Montanerno, and Fraser Minten, they could not get anything going, but still, positive signs from Fraser Minten. Wasn't horrible, but certainly was just a big, kind of line combination that didn't work out here for this game in specific. But going through the rest of this lineup, there was a lot of positive to take away from this. I mean, first of all, Jordan Harris getting his first Boston Bruins goal. Absolutely awesome. Phenomenal shot as well. Beautiful play. Everything looked nice there. Of course, Pavel Zacha, 2 assists. Casey Mittelstadt, an absolute beautiful shot as well. The positives from this game were very positive, and even though it was a 4-3 loss, there is a lot of positives to take away from this. And going straight into it, the game stats, 33 shots and a nearly 70% faceoff percentage are two major wins here. First of all, 33 shots, you're going up against the Tampa Bay Lightning team that, although it was not Andrei Vasilevsky in net today, they're still very good on the defense. They still have a very good goaltending system. So regardless of that, the shots they had, the comeback they nearly had at the end of the game, and the comeback they did have to get it to 4-3 and ultimately end it that way was a very positive sign. But there were so many opportunities in this game that sparked the Bruins' momentum, and that is something that I think for sure we've been able to see going here so far through this season. The immediate play that jumps in my mind here in this game was David Pastrnak going old Michael Ryder style in the playoffs and ultimately making that save, and full on, momentum shifting play there. Even though still was a loss, that is a good thing that you want to see take away from this team. And we do have a few quotes here. Marco Sturm starting this one offside. They came ready to play. They lost 2 in a row. We knew their starting lineup wanted to get the work right away, and we just weren't ready and made some mistakes. Then that's him talking about this Tampa Bay Lightning team playing a very good game, ultimately coming and going for a bounce back here. Immediately off this, we saw some very quick goals from them, and they were here to play. I think that was the biggest kind of difference maker here in this game, and the Bruins, they knew that they had to come out here and go up against a team that were looking to win. It just didn't click as early as they would have liked, but going in through it as well, along with the shots on the faceoffs, going through everything as well, still a lot of positive. 31 hits. This team is still showing their physicality, a much different kind of physical look this season so far, and that did not stop here against this Tampa Bay Lightning team. At the end of the second period, we saw Zadorov give a few players some shoves, saying, this is not going to be an easy third period. You're going to want to be ready because we're going to come out hot, and that they did. Couldn't get the comeback going fully, but it was still a very good sign that this team fought to that point in that game, and ultimately were able to come back from 4-1 down and get to a very close game. And going through it as well, the giveaways could be a little bit less, but still Tampa had more. The block shots, 12, and everything still putting out a very good sign here. And the big thing that we see a difference maker from this season to last year is the penalty minutes. We see Zadorov still be even more physical than he was last year, but those penalty minutes are down significant, and that's not just for him. That is also for the entire team, and I like to see that because I love to see this team physical. I like to see that they're keeping it clean, but not just in terms of, a clean hit, not a hit from behind or whatever, but they're not taking any penalty minutes. They're not losing discipline with their sticks. They're doing everything in the right way while making sure that the opponents know that their discipline is incredibly high this year and has been and will continue to be heading into this road trip here now. And we do have a few more quotes like I mentioned here. This one coming up from Casey Mittelstadt. He says, I think it starts with our leaders. You see Pasta playing goalie and taking runs at guys. I think it makes us easier for the rest of the game, and obviously Chucky is a warrior out there. That's him kind of talking about how this Bruins team sparked this, comeback. And I'm still willing to call it a comeback because they did make a big bounce back. They didn't get the win, but it still is a very good sign. And it's a big difference maker as to what we would see next game if this team didn't bounce back from this deficit that they faced here in this game, especially going up against a team in the Vegas Golden Knights who are still very, very good and are going to bring up a good fight no matter what happens. So I think it's a positive sign coming out of this and kind of continue into it. And as we looked at the offense here today, like I mentioned, that third line of Jeannot, Minton, and AC Mont was really just not clicking today. They were getting outran by every line they were going up against. That still is a line that I'm liking so far throughout the season. So I think there's no sign that they should change this just yet. But if you do have a string of a couple games like this, unlike what we saw in the first few games where they were a very good line, we see Tanner Jeannot get an early goal in the season. Fraser Minton's been playing fantastic, and Mike Chiasemont's just an absolute animal like he has been. So if they can get that sorted out and continue back to the way they started off the season, very good lineup there. But that first line, still showing the momentum, still being a leaders for this team, and even the second line here with Zacha and Mittelstadt continuing on with that same lineup. I'm loving the way Mittelstadt's playing this game so far throughout the early part of the season, and those two, in Zacha and Mittelstadt, being parts of trade rumors before the season started, I think they're making a good case that the Bruins are going to want to keep them and continue on with this. Now, still is early, so I don't want to jump ahead of myself here, but the way we're looking at this, the way the kind of team has been structured, the way the leaders have been here on this one, very, very good signs. And that also goes with the defense. We did see a little bit of a different look today here with Jordan Harris and Andrew Peeke moving down to that second line where Hampus Lindholm was out. And we do have an update here on him here in a few moments near the end of the video, so be sure to stick around for that. But having Zadorov and Jokiharju up to that second line, that's what I thought, we would have seen if there had not been a Hampus Lindholm in this lineup. And that's exactly what we did. We saw him come in here, or these guys come in here, on the second line, take over, and Jordan Harris, even on that third line, has been showing significant development. He's been playing great, and that's a very good sign, especially while Hampus Lindholm is out. And when we go take a look here at this box score, you take a look at the time on ice for the defensemen, and as well as the shifts. It doesn't really matter. These guys are rotating all. Of course, Charlie McAvoy is going to get the most time here, being our best defenseman and whatnot. Even in a game like this where he wasn't necessarily great, still leader, still needs to be on the ice. And when you're coming out here and taking a look at everybody being around that same number, and even going from Jordan Harris, who was just under 17 minutes, coming up to Henry Jokiharju, just over 16 minutes. You go to Mason Lohrei, who's in the first line, just over 19 minutes. These guys being 1 to 2 minute time on ice difference apart, that's not significant. So this is a very good sign that this defense continues to roll. You see the block shots spread throughout. You see the hits spread throughout. Zadorov, another 7. Very good signs, and I'm loving the way this team has played, and this game was a big sign of that. Now, you also have a quote here coming out from Casey Mittelstadt, and, he's from Morgan Geekie, saying, I don't know, we knew they lost a couple games to start the year, we knew they were going to come out hot, and you can't really do that in any day games. You got to figure out a way to get going, especially at home in divisional games. I wouldn't pinpoint it to one thing. I thought we got to our game towards the end of the second and into the third, but yeah, the league's too good for fall behind early, and this team, the fact that once again, they are acknowledging what they did wrong and they could pick it up immediately. It's still a very good sign that next game, the game after, in a couple weeks' time, they're adapting to what they're doing wrong. And we know, especially now with a lot of back-to-back games, with the month of February being completely off the calendar pretty much with the Olympics, there's going to be a lot of games where you're going to need to know what you did wrong and change that really, really quick. So very positive signs here. But before we do finish the video off, like I said, I have one update regarding Hampus Lindholm, and that is he is expected to travel with the team on the upcoming trip. Skate in the morning on Sunday at the practice. He expects Lindholm, that is Marco Sturm, to travel with them out west on that road trip, and whether or not he plays is still to be seen. However, the fact that he is traveling is a very positive sign. Of course, the injury that happened to some sort of his lower body, it is in the leg. It's not the knee that was injured, which is a positive sign. But we know they're going to take their time with Hampus Lindholm, especially after missing nearly all of last season. And when you're coming down to take a look at the defense, as good as Jordan Harris is playing, you can kind of run the risk of having Hampus Lindholm take his time to get some rehab, get some treatment on that before he does come back, so that he does come back 100% healthy. And I'm liking the way things are looking. And of course, this game, very positive signs, although it is a 4-3 loss. You're not going to go 82-0 in a season, but the game like this where You're losing to Tampa, a very good team in the NHL, but you're coming back. You're keeping this close, and you're honestly, for the second half of the game, outplaying them. Very positive sign. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you guys think in the comments below here about this game and really how this team adapted to this style of play that they had here later in the game and what you think that means going forward here for this team. But that is all I have in this video. If you did enjoy, of course, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing it though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.